Ryan Day bringing in Bill OBrien, former Alabama offensive coordinator, former Penn State head coach, so he knows the Big Ten, and obviously we know his stint in the NFL with the Houston Texans. And you may look at it and say, oh, well, Ryan Day he's scared now. He's trying to shuffle things up. He's trying to make a change, even though he's a top 5 winning coach in college football, but he keeps losing the most important game that Ohio State plays. It's not a postseason game. It isn't a college football playoff game or a Big Ten championship game. It's the game versus Michigan. You've lost 3 in a row. So I think making a move is necessary. It's a must. And what a better move to make when something is not working than yourself as the leader, as the king of the program, as the head coach, taking a slice of humble pie and giving up the play calling duties. Now, it may work. It may not work. Most people don't like Bill OBrien, but he is an incredible offensive mind. He really is. Not saying that everything is perfect and he's always going to make the right call, but he's been in multiple systems. Right? He's called his own plays. He understands how to use heavy personnel, how to use light personnel. And I'm very interested to see what he does with Will Howard at Ohio State. Will it be more Bryce Young-ish in Alabama, where it's a big RPO game with a guy and a quarterback that can actually run the ball that's kind of downhill? Or will you get more of a pro-style offense and try and turn Will Howard into something that he hasn't been and be a refined passer? But either way, it takes a lot of guts to give up what you're best at, especially at a time where you need it the most. So on one hand, yes, Ohio State fans should be worried. You never know how change is the outcome of it, what it's going to turn into. But at some point, you got to give the man his flowers for at least trying to do something different and starting with himself. So a guy that knows that rivalry better than just about anybody, understands what's going down in Ohio State right now and how important this next year is, especially getting Michigan at home. This former Wolverine quarterback, David Cohn, and my co-host here on this Flaming Dragon Friday. DC, interesting times for Ohio State. What's your initial reaction when reports came out that Bill OBrien has taken himself and his dimpled chin to Columbus to try and fix it?
Very interesting indeed. Look, Bill OBrien is a really good football coach. He's been a head coach in the NFL, had some successful seasons, had some bad seasons. He's been a head coach at the college level, helped Penn State, guide them out of that Joe Paterno, Jerry Sandusky era. And he's been an offensive coordinator for Nick Saban and Bill Belichick the last 3 seasons. Hey, I've heard of him, right? Let me tell you why I find this news odd this morning for 3 main reasons. One, even when he was the offensive coordinator for Nick Saban and Bill Belichick most recently, he hasn't necessarily been on a heater. Despite having the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at Alabama, that team didn't win a national championship. It's the first 3-year stint where Nick Saban didn't win one. And in New England this past season, it was so bad on offense that 6-time Super Bowl champ Bill Belichick has been run out of town. So while Bill OBrien is a great offensive mind, it's not like he's on a heater having his best seasons right now. 2, the offense is not the problem to me in Columbus. I understand we can talk about them maybe being a little more physical in the run game, but I thought that Ryan Day was the play calling guru. I thought he was the offensive mastermind who was the OC for Urban Meyer, and that he wanted to call plays that, bringing in Jim Knowles to run the defense was the piece of the puzzle that I thought was the biggest. And they're going to have all sorts of players returning. They're going to have a lot of depth. They're going to be just fine, probably open as the favorite to win the conference if Jim Harbaugh does leave Michigan. But the third reason too, Jake, is you're bringing in Will Howard to play quarterback from Kansas State, who is best when he's using his legs, right? Well, Bill OBrien told Jalen Milroe when he was at Alabama, you probably shouldn't be playing quarterback. You should probably move positions. And that was a guy who just finished 6th on the Heisman Trophy list using his arms and his legs with his skill set. So is Bill OBrien really the best option to get the most out of Will Howard? I don't know. He's a pro-style system offensive coordinator who's going to try and have to run some sort of RPO game, I believe, with Will Howard to get the most out of him. It just seems a little bit like the Buckeyes are casting a movie with all the biggest name actors they can find, but the script really hasn't been finished yet.
I like that comparison there. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We are going to get to the Booster Club in our chat. Remember, if you donate and it's on topic, we will read it at the time. We typically have live calls. But obviously we're remote this week because of the snow in Nashville. We'll be taking those next week. Excited to talk to you guys. So like I said, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you're just joining us and you're new, we really appreciate you guys hanging out. Welcome to the family. Here's what I'll say, David. To me, it's I'm not as much worried about how he'll adjust to Will Howard because I watched him at Alabama and Bryce Young really run an RPO offense down the stretch, if we're going to be honest. I mean, one of the biggest knocks, right, against Bill OBrien was that they weren't really running the ball enough or running it effectively, and a lot of that was because Bryce Young would pull the RPO to throw it, right, in some times where you didn't need to do it, or maybe people thought he was trying to put the ball in his hands too much. So I know Bill O'Brien can adjust to his personnel. Will he is another question. You bring up Jalen Milroe, right? Can somebody do something and will somebody do something are two different things. And when I look at Ohio State right now, it's kind of a crux because, again, you've had a ton of success. You've won a lot of games. The only team you can't beat right now is Michigan, which is the biggest deal. I always say you can, on one hand, say we have one of the greatest rivalries in the sport, and it is, the game is, and if we go 1-11, as long as we beat our biggest rival at the end of the year, it's a successful year. Well, then on that same hand, you cannot say, oh, well, we've gone 11-1 the past 3 years, right? And the only team we've lost to is that rival game, but it's all good. It's only one loss and we're doing well. Those two things, in my opinion, cannot exist if you honestly believe that. So you're caught in a moment of, do I keep doing the same thing? Because for the most part, it's working, right? And because if I go and change something and make this drastic change, it may hurt us even more. But then on the other hand, if you don't make a change, it seems like this is acceptable to the fan base. We talked about something similar to this with South Carolina's fans and Auburn's fans, right? It's almost impossible to please everybody. You're not going to be able to please everybody. It's why you got to go with your gut and go with your instinct. That's why I'm shocked Ryan Day still isn't calling the plays, because Shane Beamer didn't really fire a lot of guys off the staff this past year that didn't make a bowl game. South Carolina fans were screaming, this must be the standard. This must be acceptable then. If nobody's going to get let go after a poor performance, then I guess we're just going to be mid forever. And then you look at Auburn, who gets rid of a couple coaches who are Auburn legacies. And everybody says, oh no, the sky is falling. It's a disaster. You have got to go with your gut. And if this is Ryan Day's gut, I'm looking at this overall, David, and I think it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake. I'll say the same thing that I did. I can understand why he's doing it, but I think it's a mistake. Gotcha. I understand going down on your own shield. If I am going to get run out of here with my ass going 11-1 every year, I'm going to get run out with me calling the plays. And like you said, the offense really hasn't been the problem. You had a young quarterback last year, right? And you ran into a once-in-a-generation Michigan team that had been building and kind of percolating for the last couple of years and then almost gotten there. So to me, I get what he's doing. I understand why he's doing it. I just think it's a mistake because I'm going to go down on my own shield, Dave.
Yeah, it does seem like a weird time. Now, I'm just assuming that play calling duties are being handed off here when you name
O'Brien's not going down there to not call plays.
Yeah, so I mean, we are going out a little on a little bit of an assumption there, but I mean, I think it's a pretty safe one because Bill O'Brien's not going to come in unless he's actually going to call the plays, which to me, like, it just seems like a weird year because there is a lot of pressure. Imagine this: Ryan Day is top 5, top 6 in Power 5 football in terms of winning percentage. And yet, the past 3 years, we've talked about all this heat. Is Ryan Day on the hot seat? They made the college football playoff a year ago and played the champions, Georgia, to within 3 points. That's how much that Michigan game matters. And now, when you've lost 3 in a row, now's the time you want to transition into a CEO role. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but I do want to talk about this offense that they had at Alabama when Bryce Young was Bill O'Brien's offensive coordinator. So they were running the RPO system, right? And look, Bill O'Brien's forgotten more football than I've ever known. I have no doubt he could design whatever type of offense you wanted. His willingness to do it, like you mentioned, I don't know. But with that RPO system, and it led to Bryce Young being the first quarterback in Alabama history to win the Heisman Trophy. They had a lot of success.
People forget that would be OB. People forget that.
Yeah, and look, he's had a lot of offensive success, a lot of accolades like that. But with that RPO system, it was truly run with the running back option and then pass on those slant routes and those seam routes. It wasn't Bryce Young running the football, right?
Yeah.
Now, I know Will Howard and Jalen Milroe are not exact comps to each other, but they're more similar to me than Will Howard and Bryce Young. I mean, when I've seen Will Howard be at his best, it's because the threat to use his legs, which was why it was already odd that Ryan Day would bring him in, because we've seen the CJ Strouds and you know, the type of quarterbacks like Dwayne Haskins that Ryan Day has coached at Ohio. Kyle McCord,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I guess Justin Fields is the one who could run 4-2, 4-3 and take off at any time. But even then, I don't remember Ryan Day using a lot of quarterback design runs. That was more in the scramble game for Justin Fields with the Buckeyes. So, you know, that's why it seems a little bit odd to me, just from like, one, Ryan Day was the play caller. Now you're going to hand that over and be a CEO type coach. And then Bill OBrien being brought in. Are you just bringing in Bill OBrien just to do it? Or is that the best option based off the pieces that you're going to have on the offensive side of the ball moving forward?
Well, David, again, like I'll go back to it, and I'm going to get to the Booster Club here. I want to know what Ohio State fans think, but you just wonder two things. One, does this mean Bill OBrien wants to come back to college and stay in college? I find that very interesting, because if you go have success, he'll get a head coaching job pretty quickly at the collegiate level. He may just be tired of the NFL stuff. I don't know. The second thing is this making a change for the sake of making a change with a big name, right? Or is this just a huge mistake, right? Is this pointing to the fan base saying, hey, listen, I do want to change something. This isn't acceptable. As good as it's gone, it hasn't gone how we want it, right? And I'm going to bring in Bill OBrien, a big name, to change it. You know, or does Ryan Day really believe he's the problem? I don't think Ryan Day really believes he's the problem. Yeah. I don't. I feel like he feels like this is a change that has to be made to kind of save face with what's been going on lately.
Hey, YouTube, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Check us out. Roll through our videos. We drop content all the time. Turn that notification bell on as well so you can be updated when we do release it.